The Nintendo 64 is home to a ton of classic video games. There's Mario 64, GoldenEye, Banjo-Kazooie, Ocarina of Time, and most importantly for this video, Mario Kart 64. This is one of those games that I've always heard about being good, but I've never actually played or even seen it being played by any of my friends. This entry into the Mario Kart series has a bunch of tracks that have been remade and remastered over the years, so you know this game is full of great tracks. These tracks are what I'm going to be looking at in this video. I'm going to be trying to figure out how many tracks in this game can be driven on by like a real life car. Like if some crazy rich guy was like, oh hey, I love Mario Kart, let me just build this track in real life. I'm going to see how many that crazy guy could actually drive on with a normal car. I am just talking about regular cars here, so just like a normal Ford Focus, like nothing crazy. For this video I'm sticking to the structure of the track, not necessarily the terrain they're on. So if a track is fully in snow or on ice or something, that doesn't stop it from being possible to drive on. I would also like to point out again that I've never played this game before making this video, so let's just say the gameplay you're about to see won't be like super impressive. And I guess while I'm talking about it, I should point out that this game is really hard to play. Like if you make one little mistake, it just ruins your entire race. And then you have to get fourth, like to move on in the Grand Prix. So to see all the tracks in a Grand Prix in a row, you have to like consistently do good. And it's so annoying. Okay, anyway, I'm gonna be playing at 150cc because that's like the closest you can get to a real life car's speed in the game. I don't wanna make this intro too long or anything, so let's get started with Mushroom Cup. Our first track we'll be looking at is Luigi Raceway, and this track really doesn't have anything to talk about. It's just a flat track all the way around. The roads are all wide open, and yeah, we have our first pass of the video. Moo Moo Farm is up next, and I just love these background cows. They just look so awesome. Also, this is completely unrelated, but why do the bananas take a second to like make me slip in this game? It's so annoying. Anyway, this track takes place on, you guessed it, a farm. We don't really care that it's a dirt road, so that's fine. And these little gopher guys pose no threat to an actual full-size automobile. Like, they'll just get ran over. The bridge in this track is large enough to fit under, and that's really the last thing that I can think of that would be an issue, so yeah, we have ourselves another pass. Next up is Koopa Troopa Beach. This is a pretty cool track that I don't think I've played before, but I'm not entirely sure. I mean that like, I don't think it's ever been remade or remastered in any other Mario Kart game. Just like with the last one, we're ignoring the terrain, so the fact that this is sand is no problem here. There's these ramps that are scattered all around the track, and I think they're here to like make it so it's just not a beach drive and to make the track more memorable. Taking these ramps in a real life car would probably destroy it, so if there were any mandatory ramps on this track, it would make it impossible. Luckily, all of them are avoidable, so this track is possible as well. The original Calamari Desert is a little bit different than the one on the Switch and on Mario Kart Tour. This time you don't drive through the tunnel that the train is on, so it's a little bit more lame. Like I said, this one has a train coming around, and when you're racing on it, it gets in your way, but I don't know if you know this about real life cars, but they have brakes. So yeah, you can just wait for it to pass and then just cross the tracks. So this one's possible. That rounds out Mushroom Cup, and all 4 of these tracks were possible, so that's pretty cool. Let's see if Flower Cup can keep this streak going. To start off Flower Cup, the first track is Toad's Turnpike. I think this is the 3rd time I've had to cover this track in these videos. Basically, it's just a road in the shape of a figure 8, so yeah, it's very possible because it's literally what cars drive on in real life. I don't know how it took me so long to realize this, but where are the cars in this track going? They're just driving in circles forever. How did they get on this road? Are they gonna be okay? Anyway, the second track is Frappe Snowland, and I covered this one in the DS video as well. It's basically the same as the DS one, except for this time I am so much worse at driving on it because I suck at the game. Just like I said last time, this track is mostly flat, and since ice isn't a problem, this track is mostly just fine. The snowmen that are scattered around the track wouldn't do anything to a real life car except for maybe get plowed over, so those are fine. The only questionable part is this jump right here, and this is still tough for me to decide, but since I let it pass in the DS video, I'll let it slide here too. So this track is possible. Choco Mountain is 3rd here, and I know I kind of mentioned it at the start, but why if I fall here does it just let me stay at the bottom? Like, that's crazy. I ruined an entire race because I fell here, and since I had to get 4th or better to move on, I had to do this all over again. It was so annoying. Anyway, this track has these falling rocks that would absolutely crush a car, but realistically you could make it through without any rocks falling on you, so that's fine. There is this hilly section, but if you take it slow with the car, it wouldn't damage it, so I don't really have a problem with it. So this is another possible track in a row, which is kind of crazy. To close out Flower Cup, we have Mario Raceway. This track is basically just the Mario circuit for this game. It's a super basic track that has flat roads and very few obstacles. The only things that actually get in your way on this track are the trees and other stuff that are off of the main road, so this one's another obvious path. It's pretty crazy that we have 2 cups to start out a Mario Kart game that are just fully possible to drive on in real life. Let's see if we can continue this streak in Star Cup. Opening up Star Cup, we have Wario Stadium, and wow, this track is long. This track takes forever to finish, and it doesn't have any switch up in scenery or anything. It's just a dirt bike track all the way through. There are a ton of hills and bumps in the road like these ones that I'm jumping off of. If you were to actually drive in a real car on this though, you could just take it extremely slow and avoid most of this stuff. Now, I don't know if you caught it, but I said most, not all of it. There is a reason for that. There are a couple spots on this track that have actual massive jumps and not just like hills. There's this one at the start of the race, and then halfway through the track you jump over this whole other section of the track. So this one has to be our first track that I would deem impossible to drive on with a normal car in real life. The streak has finally come to an end. Sherbert Land is our next track, and this one under my rules for the video would be mostly just a wide open terrain to drive on because ice isn't a problem. The penguins wouldn't pose a real threat to a real sized car because the car would be way bigger than these little carts that you drive on in the game. The only part of this track that I have questions on is about this ice cave part. The ice cave has these sections that get pretty narrow, and it's hard to tell whether or not a real life car would get stuck in here because these walls are too narrow. I think I'm going to let this one pass though because these walls look just wide enough to be able to squeeze through with a normal sized vehicle. The next track we have is Royal Raceway, and let me just say that this track was a complete bitch to get through. My first time playing this one, I probably fell like 8 times. And when you're playing the track, it feels like it's way more than 8. It feels like 100. It has pretty cool details though, like Peach's castle in the background and everything, so that's pretty great. Anyway, towards the end of this track, there's this huge jump where you actually get these booster things to make it across. I don't think I could see a Prius making that jump in one piece, so this one's gonna be deemed impossible. Bowser's Castle closes out Star Cup, and this track is tough to judge. First of all, the inside portion has these thwomps, and I'm not really sure if a real car could navigate between all of these guys. The bigger issue with this track comes near the end, where you have to take these jumps over lava. These jumps are pretty big for a regular car to take, so there's no way that a car could take these jumps 3 times throughout a race. I think I'm gonna have to call this one impossible because of the stuff added together with the jumps and the inside part. So that was a big change. We had 2 cups to start out with that were fully possible, and then this one that only had 1 track. So yeah, let's see what happens in the last cup. This game only has 4 cups, so to start out our last cup we have DK's Jungle Parkway. I love this track on the Wii, so it's pretty cool to see that it has some differences here. I don't know what the hell these things are that are hitting you when you drive off the track here. I don't even know where they're coming from even, but I do think they're kind of silly and they add a lot of charm to the track. Mostly this track is just a dirty road through the jungle. There's this cave section that a car could definitely get through because the cave is pretty wide open, but to get to the cave you have to go over this bridge. This bridge seems a little bit too narrow for an actual car to get over, so I think I could call it impossible off of this, but I'm not too sure. Luckily, I don't really have to fully answer that question though because there's this jump over the river at the start of the race, so yeah, this one's impossible. Yoshi Valley is up next, and honestly this track feels a little unfinished. The game doesn't tell you what position you're in throughout the entire race, which is kind of weird, especially because the items that are given to you are based on what position you're in, so the game has to know, but it just doesn't tell you. And then the landscape of this track feels super bare. It's like they forgot to add in a background or something. This track has a bunch of branching paths, and I think I found the best path only has 1 smaller jump that you have to hop down in a car. I think this would be fine for a car to do 3 times throughout a race. Like, it would damage the car for sure, but I think you could still drive on it after. So I'm gonna call this one possible. Banshee Boardwalk is a track that I completely forgot about on the DS, and I had no idea that the original version of this track even existed. This track is great, even though I'm absolutely horrible at it. I love all the ghosts and stuff, and even though the bats look a little weird in this game, they do add a lot to this track. Speaking of the bats, a car could probably just drive right through all of them, so they wouldn't really add any problem to make this one impossible. But just like I said in the DS video, the jump right here would make this track impossible. Like if a car jumped down on this section of the broken boardwalk, the entire front end of the car would just cave in. So yeah, impossible. Just like in every other Mario Kart, the last track in this game is Rainbow Road. This track took like 8 minutes to finish the race on, which I think is really funny. It's way too long. I'm pretty sure Rainbow Road takes place in space, but I'm just saying that doesn't matter for this video. I'm just looking at the structure of the track, not just like where it's located. It doesn't really matter though either way, because these chain chomp things that are like halfway in the ground on this track, these things would bite the front end of your car and probably not let go until the whole thing was destroyed. And with how wide real life cars are, I'm pretty sure these chomps would be completely unavoidable. So that means Rainbow Road doesn't pass, just like how it doesn't in pretty much every other game. So there was every track in Mario Kart 64 that's possible to drive on. This is for sure the hardest Mario Kart game that I've played so far. It turns out 10 of the 16 tracks in this game are possible to drive on. And here are the stats cup by cup if you want to see that. Sorry I'm taking so long to make these videos. I'm really trying to be quicker, but I've just been so busy. I'll be better though. Thank you to everyone who's been watching. It's really awesome that I have over 4,000 subscribers. Like, that's just crazy. If you aren't subscribed, it would be really cool if you did, and if you liked the video, it would be awesome if you left it a like. Anyway, it's fun making these videos, so yeah, thank you for watching. I think it's cool. But yeah, that's it. Okay, bye!